y'all, welcome back to Teensy Vintage. This is Teresa, and I have another art process video for y'all today. Yesterday I was working on a different video, but it turned out that my video files were corrupted and I just couldn't save them. So this is actually a new piece that I decided to just make instead of feeling frustrated. I funneled it into some creativity. So I'm making a rainbow card here with some Distress Oxide inks. I put some of the ink onto a piece of plastic that I have. Now watch here, like a big dummy, I started to let the heat gun get too close to the plastic. And of course the plastic warped and curled. I didn't even notice it until right there. Okay. I was like, well, I'll just cut that piece off, rounded the corners so I don't poke myself, and keep going. I'm using two different yellows here. This one's a light yellow. I believe this is Squeezed Lemonade. And I'm just letting the two inks kind of run into each other. So when the wet yellow ink hits the blue ink, obviously you get some greens. It's hard to see it on the video, but I promise it's there. So I'm going to dry this thoroughly. I thought about using an orange, but I decided instead I'm going to put a second yellow on later. A mustard seed, I believe. But first we're going to do Festive Berries, the red that I chose. At the beginning I thought about using each color of the rainbows, but I was like, you know what, let's just do it the old-fashioned way. Primary colors and let them blend together. And it turned out pretty well. So now we're going to dry the red. Make sure everything is dry. I'm trying to uncurl my paper. And here's where I'm going to add that mustard seed, which is the darker yellow. As you can see when I put it on there, it is intense. But that's okay. So we get some nice orange where it hits the red. And then it blends into the other yellow nicely. I want to make sure that this is all completely dry so that I'm able to go in a little bit and use water very specifically, like intentionally. So there's my 4 colors that I've used. Okay, so now I'm taking a wet plain brush and I'm just painting water over the top of my inks. This is reactivating them and blending them together. All I'm doing is going over everything that has white showing through, so the edges and some spots in the middle. Blending just a little bit here and there to get those colors to come together again so that I have a nice kind of an ombre effect. Now I'm going to take my spray bottle and very slowly drip out some big wet drips and take a napkin and absorb the water off of that. It's really hard to see here on the video, but it got some nice blobbiness because of the water and the way it reacts with the oxide inks. Gives it some texture. So now I'm going to take a stencil and I'm going to add some black polka dots. This is just going to give a little dimension to my card. And you want to make sure that you're holding the stencil very securely so that it doesn't slide. And I'm just using one of those little sponge pouncers and just making a gentle circular motion over the top. You don't want to go side to side or up or down because then you might get some ink under the stencil. But this will give you some very crisp dots. I'm going to go around the edges of my card here and blacken them with some Ranger Archival ink in jet black. And I'm going to choose this wolf it came out of a Stamperia die cut set, which I don't remember the name of it, but it's in the description below. And here I'm actually wrapping my card around my spray bottle just to kind of get that curl out of it. And it works. Use some glossy accents as glue, just because it was easy to grab. This is a thicker piece of cardboard, so I wanted to make sure that it would stick to my background. And we're going to weigh it down with the gel medium since it's nice and heavy. Also keeps the wolf die cut from curling. And while I'm waiting on that, I am going to choose a sentiment from a Tim Holtz sticker book. I believe that one's called Small Talk. And I end up going around the edges in the black ink to give them a little definition, but then I end up cutting it again and needing to add more black. Instead of pointy edges, I use my Fiskars corner cutter and give this card some rounded edges. I feel like it mirrors the dots. I'm going to use my Stabilo Marks All pencil in black to give this wolf some ground to stand on so he's not just floating there. Or she, we don't know. And I'm outlining a little bit of the wolf as well. I'm going to use a wet paintbrush to activate the black and give it a nice black look. Go around my sentiment, just like giving everything an outline. It just makes everything look nice and crisp. And now we're going to put the date. So I got my date stamp out. I go off the edge a little bit, so I stamp the date on the back too, just to make sure it's readable. Sign my name. And then I realized, you know what? I want to outline that side of the wolf as well. And I just used the artist pit pen that I have in my hand. And there it is. Thanks so much for watching all. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And hopefully I will have prints of this available on my website soon.